In this video, I'll be sharing with you what I think is one of the absolute best opportunities inside of self-publishing for 2020 and going forward. Hey guys, my name is Thomas Sartz from bookbeam.io, and you're probably wondering, what is this opportunity that I'm referring to? And it is, drumroll, none other than going after foreign markets with translations of your current books, or basically with translated books in the native languages in the markets that you're going after. So why this is such a great opportunity right now is because of two main things. One of them is that Amazon has now opened up advertising on all the major foreign Amazon stores. So that includes the UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. So those are the five biggest ones. So you have advertising now available for each of these stores. That's really friggin' cool. I was really excited when Amazon announced this, and frankly I thought they should have done it sooner, but anyway, I'm really glad they have done it now. And the second reason why this is such a great opportunity, such a great thing to do right now, is because these markets, these foreign markets, have been steadily growing throughout this whole time. Amazon in the United States is pretty established, and it has been for the past few years. It's like really, really big, basically. But in these other countries, such as Germany, or perhaps Spain, UK, kind of an obvious one. In these other countries, Amazon has been growing steadily year over year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in Germany it has been 10% every year, and that's pretty steady growth for such a massive kind of massive platform. And what I'll be doing in this video is perhaps answering some of your questions that some of you guys might have when you start doing this, when you start going after the so-called foreign markets, foreign from the standpoint of the US. I know a lot of you guys are from the US, so hence I'm using this, and just for the sake of ease, I'm using this word. I myself am not from the US. I'm from Europe. Anyhow, so I think one of the first questions you might have on your mind, and something that I just feel I want to get out of the way, is, do translated books perform better than non-translated books on foreign markets? And the answer is a resounding yes. I actually thought perhaps it won't be true in a market like Germany. In Germany, there are, in cities like Berlin, where I have lived for a while, people tend to speak English very well, most of them. But the truth is, people just, feel much more comfortable in their own native language. They feel more comfortable making the purchases, they understand the products, and the conversion rates are definitely a lot better, like hands down, there's no question about it. Ad cost is lower when you have a translated book in a foreign market like Germany, for example. Ad cost is better for your translated versus non-translated book. The ad cost will be better. And you can also, with your translated book, this is so cool, you can go after a lot of uncontested keywords in these foreign languages. So that there is this barrier, which is the translation that you gotta do. There is this barrier, which is, this research that you gotta do in another language. But this barrier, guys, and I think this is a really cool teachable moment about entrepreneurship in general, this barrier is also your opportunity. This challenge is your opportunity. That's where the opportunity lies. So here I went into my Amazon dashboard in the German store, and I picked out the same book with two different ads. So two ad campaigns for the same one book, but the book is in two different languages. So one is in English, the first row is in English, and the bottom row is in German. It's the same book and it's the same type of ad. It's a product ad for the same book in two different languages. So, and as you can see, the German version performed way, way better. Now, I do have to mention one thing, like for sake of accuracy, it's not the same amount of time for both of these ads, because the first ad in English, I killed it when I noticed that they're not performing anywhere near as well as the native language books. So this is the German book, outperformed by far the English book, and so I just scaled that ad a bit more than the other one. And as you can see, the cost per click is really, really good. You can't get this stuff like 9 or 7 cents. You can see actually for the native one, I scaled up my bids just because it was converting better. I mean, this is by far definitely not my best converting ad or ad campaign for Germany, but it was just a great example, like with enough elements being similar that I can kind of contrast them and show them to you guys. So guys, I thought it would be helpful for you guys if I shared with you some of my ad dashboards for these foreign stores. This one is for the Germany store for a period of 2 months. And as you can see, the ACOS is low. Let me look at some of the specific campaigns here. So this is November and December for already the previous year. And as you can see, the ACOS sometimes is really low. By the way, all of these top ads that I've managed to scale to some extent or another all of them are German. None of them are here. I'm just checking to see if there are absolutely no English language books here. All of them are German. So let us see if we can contrast some of this with some ads in English. So this one is in English. You see the cost per bid is still low, but it is getting clicks, but it's not getting conversions. So that's a huge problem, of course. Conversions, at the end of the day, that's what matters. I mean, all of it matters, but conversions, if you get tons of clicks but nobody buys, like who cares, right? Doesn't really do much for you, does it? So yeah, guys, without a doubt, the native language books will perform a lot better. And just from the human standpoint, if you want to go even deeper about this, I find this really fascinating. I'm a pretty well-traveled person. I'm a digital nomad. I'm traveling all the time pretty much, if you could see it that way. And I've lived in Berlin for a while, been to France, Spain, Italy, all these places. And what I can glean from that is that, yes, in some places in like the metropolitan areas, people will speak English very well, although sometimes not that well that they feel comfortable in it. And a huge part of the population, even in Germany, definitely in France, and definitely in Spain, don't speak English almost at all. And in France, they actually have this attitude of, you come to my country, you speak my language. So they have a bit of an FU attitude towards English, which again, it's our opportunity here to serve them better, to translate the books, optimize them for keywords within these foreign markets. And yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think this is awesome. So again, translations plus optimization, that is keyword optimization. And you could go as far as, optimizing your cover so it kind of resonates more with that, culture. But that is a little bit pretty far already. If you have a great cover is pretty much, it will perform well in all markets, more or less. So, and then you have the Amazon ads on top of that, and that trifecta, gives you a high likelihood of success, and that, by success, I mean a good ROI, or a good return on your investment for translating your books and putting them up on foreign markets, and then turning on the ads for these books. Not all books will be successful. I recommend that you start with the most successful books on the .com store that you have, and go from there. Start list them out with the most successful books, and go in order to the least successful ones. That's a kind of very optimal way to do it, or you can just do ad hoc, go with all of them. It really depends on your case. How many books do you have out there? Are they super high content books? Are they purely textbooks? For coloring books, oh man, it's so easy. For coloring books, sometimes you gotta just change a few texts, translate the description, come up with a good title, and there's so little translation work that you gotta do. So if you have some coloring books or activity books up, or journals, absolutely, you gotta put them on the foreign markets, without a doubt. So a little bit again about the ads in these markets, that just adds to why this is so awesome, is because, just because there's not so much attention in these markets, the ads a lot of the times will be very cheap, or at least way cheaper than anything that you can get in the .com store. And also, it's just lower competition for various targets, especially so I found for product targets. Another interesting element that I've seen, again, it just adds to positivity here. Another interesting element that I've seen is that translated books have good performance on Ingram Spark. And why that is, I speculate that's because it is, there are not that many books in Spanish are available on Ingram Spark, not that many books in German are available, and so that's why they get, instantly more visible and more orders and purchases. So again, another upside here. One thing that I do recommend when you start doing this, when you start setting up your ads for, for Germany, for Spain and whatnot, is download Google's Translator extension. It's a free extension and it will really help you out when you're trying to figure out what do the keywords actually mean, what do these, what do the categories mean. It can really be helpful. So what it can do, it can actually translate the whole page for you when you have this extension. So just to illustrate what I mean here I'm in the middle of setting up a product ad targeting various categories, and what this app will do, it's pretty cool. We just click translate this page, and what happens? It translates all of these categories for us, and so you can get at least somewhat of an understanding of which categories it might make sense to target. So that's a cool tip that I can share with you guys, just to make things a little bit more easy and effective. And now, as for the question, like, how do I actually go about translating my book? What should I do? It's pretty much the usual answer. I would recommend that you use Fiverr or negotiate some deal with somebody on Upwork. Now, one thing that I gotta warn you of, so you can be kind of mindful about, is that some people will kind of cheat here. They will offer a translation service, and what they will do is they will just throw it up on Google Translate and either just hand it back to you like that. Here you go, here's your translation. As if you can't just throw it inside of Google Translate. Why do you need to pay them for it? Or in the kind of also bad scenario, but maybe not as bad, they will put it into Google Translate and make some like slight edits here and there, read through it. I had this happen to me once, and one of the guys that was narrating the book was like, what the F is going on here? This doesn't make sense. This guy just put it into Google Translate. So I had to find out that way. So ideally, what you should do is you should ask somebody to kind of proofread it, another person who is a fluent speaker of that language, be it Spanish. That might be perhaps slightly easier to find, but again, it depends on your situation entirely. Or you have a friend from Germany perhaps, or somebody who just knows German. You can ask them to proofread and tell me, does this make sense, or is it just a bunch of hokey pokey? Okay guys, now for the fun part. Let's analyze each of these foreign markets, and I'll give you some of my insights as to what I think about each of them, what are my experiences surrounding them, and we'll also be very analytical, professional, and statistical. We'll look at various statistics to kind of, again, get a feeling for what each of these markets is about. So first we have .co.uk, England. We have Germany, which is one of my favorites. I'll talk about all of these in just a second. We have Spain, France, and Italy. All of them also can be very good. First of all, .co.uk, England. So again, it's an obvious choice. It is an obvious choice because most of your books will be in English, targeted for English-speaking people with English keywords. It is an obvious choice. The market is great. It is large, and the people in England are relatively wealthy with, and this is really important, guys, with something called disposable income. Now, those of you who have studied economics know what that is. Disposable income is basically, when people, after all of their kind of necessities, food, whatever, maybe rent, we can clump into that, and all these that are necessities, they have money left over, so they can spend more easily on things that are not necessities, which, books would tend to fall under. Population, 66 million, 42.5 thousand US dollars GDP per capita. We can use that as kind of a feeling for the economy, as I just talked about. And ads, what is great, the ads are not yet saturated, so highly suggest that you turn on your ads for the England market. Next up, we have Germany.de, Deutschland. It is one of my favorite markets, absolutely, because of a couple of reasons. First of all is that it's the fastest growing Amazon market. So you have to look at how big of a player is Amazon in this country, and in Germany it's becoming an ever so important kind of e-commerce store. Germans like efficiency, and Amazon is very good at that. Next, population, again, big, 80 million, 80 plus million. And you do have, another thing you can consider is how many German speakers are there worldwide. There are quite a bit besides Germany, so that might impact your kind of, that does impact the market somewhat, although who knows if you'll be able to reach people in Austria, perhaps. Then the economy is really good. That's what makes Germany such a great market, is the economy is very strong. It is actually, if the stats here are right, my VA got these stats for me for this presentation. If the stats are right, it's actually a greater economy than UK. So it's a really strong economy. German economy is really good, and that's why I really like going after the German market. And they also do have Amazon Prime, which is cool. But a downside that I will mention about the German market that you kind of got to be mindful of, Germans tend to be this is a cultural thing, I guess. Germans tend to be very critical people. They like high quality, they produce their cars, and they're very kind of critical people. So be mindful of your book's quality. No typos and a lot of value. So I'll leave you with that. Be mindful of that. Otherwise, you'll get those 2 stars and 1-star reviews. Then next up we have Spain. .es, España. Good market, good economy, perhaps not great, but one of the cool things about Spain is that there are a lot of Spanish speakers outside of Spain. So that it pretty much includes most of Latin America, with perhaps an exception of Brazil, I believe, where they speak Portuguese. Pretty much all the other ones I can think of, you got Mexico, you got Chile, you got Argentina, you got Peru, Bolivia, what else do you have down there? Ecuador, Central America, predominantly Spanish speaking. So that might be kind of another good point about translating your book to Spanish, that at some point you might get to access some of these people as well. Next up, we have France. France is a market I also like. It's not as big as Germany for sure, but the French economy is a good one, which is what I like. And also, it's a fairly substantial market with 65 million people living within France. And Amazon is also gaining their foothold in France. And last but certainly not least, we have Italy. There's not too much to say about it. It's good, but it's perhaps not great. But again, it really depends on your niche, how things will perform for you. All right, and now to summarize all of this, my top picks are definitely the UK and the Germany store. Again, the UK doesn't have that language barrier advantage, but they're both very good economies, and good/very good really depends a lot on your niches and factors like these, which are circumstantial to you. All of the other ones are there, like Spain, France, and Italy, and very good/good. The randomizing factor, as I've written here, is the variety of book niches out there. You might perform really well. One of my books performs really, really well on the French market, just because it's just circumstantial. So that's kind of a randomizing factor. This is just general to give you the feeling for what is what when you're kind of starting this journey going into foreign markets. Now, a big thing when we're talking about all of this is research. Research is important anytime you do anything. You shouldn't just think things off the top of your mind. You should research things meticulously. What are people searching? And you should tailor your products, your books, according to those most popular best searches. Be strategic, be analytical, and don't just leave things up to chance and guessing. Now, when it comes to this research, what is really key, as always, it's BSR. But guys, unfortunately, one thing that you do not have is the sales estimates for the respective rankings in each of these foreign stores. You don't know what the rankings mean, how many sales do each of the rankings equal to. Well, too bad for you, I know them. Just kidding, guys. I will give you the BSR estimates in each of these stores in just a minute. But something that you do have to note about the Germany store, the Spain, France, Italy, basically where the native language is different than English, is that there are two types of rankings for books. There's the foreign language books, and then there's the native language books, or just books as it's usually kind of called on the Amazon site. And there's a big distinction. Just because people buy a lot more of the native language books, that's far more popular, that's the rankings that you kind of got to be looking at. And also just because you'll be, translating your books and going after those, being in those rankings, if you get what I mean. Okay, and just to illustrate this point for you guys, I've picked out two, pretty random coloring books on the .de Germany store. And here you see this one is in English. It has an English title. It's, an English language book, and here you have it it's 14,000 in foreign language books. So that's a separate ranking from this one. This book is in German, and its ranking is 6,000 in German books. So basically the idea is if one book is positioned 1,000 in the foreign language books, and another one is positioned 1,000 in the German language books, in basically native language books, so to get to 1,000 in German language takes way more sales than it does to get to the same number in the foreign language books. I hope that makes sense now. Now with that said, let's move on to the specific estimates. These are really rough and should be taken as such. The ranges are pretty big, and that's how I meant them to be, so you have kind of a rough feeling for what means what, so you can decipher what's going on in these foreign markets. Now, I guess I won't comment too much on these. You can just, screenshot these or, do whatever you like. Basically, as you can see, Germany is one of the strongest markets. Spain is pretty good, although not as big as Germany. France is probably France. Based on what we've seen, France looks like it's second after Germany, and Italy and Spain are roughly the same, although Italy is probably slightly behind Spain. That's what it looks like. And again, you can just, screenshot these when you do your research. Now guys, another tip I want to give you is when you're putting your books up on these foreign markets in their translated versions is do not forget to optimize for something called a VAT, an ugly thing called value-added tax that we gotta deal with in Europe. Even Amazon has to do it. They have somehow managed to get it to be pretty low. So as you can see here in this example, out of $5.99, it's only, how much is that? It's just 23 cents, which is still relatively low. Amazon is able to hire really smart lawyers and tax people and whatnot to get it to be relatively low. But usually it's like 20-something%. You have to pay value-added tax on various goods inside of Europe. So don't forget to optimize for it. For example, if I were to put $5.99 here in the list price in that little box, the price would come out to be like $6.34 or something like this, some ugly price. So just don't forget to optimize for that. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I wanted to share. That's all I had to share regarding foreign markets. I really, really hope you understand how valuable this is. People tend to underestimate the value of things that are free, but this is super valuable stuff. So yeah, again, if you have any more questions, feel free to drop them down in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer them. And with that said, guys, until next time, bye-bye.